I'm your host, Annie Bowles, and this is News du Jour. Hey everyone. So yesterday was the final day of our Black Friday sale. I hope everyone got a chance to scoop what they wanted at a discounted price because that is pretty much the only sale we're going to do for the whole year. And today, without further ado, we will go ahead and jump into the news because for once I have very few announcements for here at the top. I do have to issue a content warning, though. This first story does involve violence. So we have to discuss the Iran protests as promised yesterday. First things first, the UN investigation. So according to the UN's website, they have begun a special session in response to the crisis in Iran. They began what they are calling a fact-finding mission to assemble images and other evidence about what has been going on in Iran starting back on September 16th of this year. They do not make it clear on their website, though, what they plan to do with these facts that they're finding. And throughout the proceedings, Iran continued to object to all of their findings as falsified. This is frustrating, but definitely not surprising in any way. And as the Iranian government was repeatedly denying any wrongdoing over at the UN in Geneva, reports of even more human rights violations are pouring out of Iran day by day. So don't get it twisted. Nothing is slowing down. And that's where we have to discuss a detainee's father's letter. So we discussed journalist Hossein Roghani in our bonus episode on Iran with Elika Laban, and essentially he was reportedly abducted by the IRGC because he wasn't summoned to court or anything like that, and once in prison had both his legs broken and was denied medical assistance for those injuries. He had been in prison before where he had spent 13 months in isolation and, according to Iran Wire, had to undergo 7 different surgeries, including one where he lost a kidney due to prolonged abuse that he suffered within the prison system in Iran. There have actually been global calls for his release, but they have fallen on deaf ears for the most part. So now it is reported by Iran Wire and other grassroots news outlets that his father, Ahmed Roghani Maliki, sent a letter to the Iranian government saying that if his son was not released, he plans to set himself on fire either in front of Evin Prison or, as some other news outlets are reporting it, Arg Square, both very public locations in Tehran. Something like this would draw worldwide attention and create a genuine martyr for the Iranian protesters, as if they didn't have a few of those already. But it would also be horrific and an immense tragedy. So there's no way around either aspect there, should an event like this occur. But let's hope it doesn't come down to this. To help further put pressure on the Iranian government to free all the prisoners, including this particular man, be sure to use the hashtags #FreeIranianPrisoners and #Hossein Roghani on social media. And for our next story, we are discussing Houston's boil water order. So the city of Houston is now under a boil water order due to an electrical outage. The power outage caused pressure in their water system to drop, and their water system, as I understand it, is just unique. It's different than the way that most cities operate when it comes to their water system, and it led to the possibility of contamination. So now 2.3 million residents in Houston are having to boil water until further notice or drink bottled water. The public school system was also closed for the day, and that could extend further into the week depending on how quickly things can get back up and running. It remains unclear what exactly caused the power outage on Sunday, but either way, better safe than sorry. Officials are testing the water to make sure that it's totally safe again before announcing a lift on that boil water measure, so definitely stay tuned. And next up for today, China is flooding Twitter with spam to hide their protests. So as we discussed, Iran is not the only place having pretty intense protests going on that they're trying to squash. Russia also has a bunch going on, but so does China. And under the new leadership, Twitter has become a more chaotic place than ever before. And that's saying a lot. But China is using this new level of chaos to their advantage to squash news of widespread protests across the internet by flooding Twitter with spam stories. You see, Twitter's staff, as we have reported, has been dramatically reduced from about 7,500 to 2,000, and they simply do not have the bandwidth to police things the way that they used to. So when China puts out mass amounts of spam posts, like links to escort services and other adult content, using the hashtags commonly used by protesters, such as the names of cities and so on, Twitter just doesn't have the manpower to do much about it. This content was coming from accounts that had been quiet for months or even years, implying that the government had created all of these accounts for their own personal use. Protesters are now even calling for certain leaders in China to resign. So things are getting taken to a whole new level. They're reaching a new level of seriousness. And this is definitely something we're going to have to keep an eye on and see how long these protests can last, even under the thumb of the Chinese government. And that is the news du jour. Today, I wanted to leave you guys with the quote, "Don't talk about it, be about it." If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe on whatever podcast platform you use to listen. A rate and review or shout out on social media would mean the world to us and help us be able to keep creating the news du jour. But the best way to support all of our work is to become a patron at www.patreon.com/sugarfreemedia. You can also follow us on social media under sugarfreemedia.co on Instagram and just sugarfreemedia, all one word, on TikTok. We appreciate you listening and look forward to telling you about the news again next time on News du Jour.
Broadcasting from Oklahoma.